Hard.
We're live, guys. We're live. We should be live on the channel. Welcome, everyone. There we go. This is going to be epic. The four authors of This is Service Design Thinking and This is Service Design Doing. Yes, we're here live on YouTube, or if you're watching the recording, welcome. We're going to do really awesome things the coming hour, probably. I'm inviting you to say hi in the chat if you're here. Let me say hi. I'm alone in the chat at this moment. Awesome. So what's the plan? The plan is that I'm going to ask these guys all the dirty secrets about what happened in the progress of making this book. Welcome, Mahmoud, of course, fan of the show. Awesome that you're here. Oh yeah, people are flocking in. Say hi, guys, in the chat. Wave, let's wave. We'll do a Q&A during this session, and you can ask these guys anything you'd like to say. They promised me they're going to answer everything. So let's just kick this off. And if you're watching live right now, make sure you tweet about this, post this on LinkedIn, spam your social media channels so that we have a lot of people hanging out with us this evening. That will be, that will be gezellig, as we say in Dutch. Adam, Jakob, Markus, and Marc, thanks for making the time to join in and have a chat with me about this latest book. I actually don't have it in my hands because my coworker Marcel has it at home. But we are in the book with 31 volts. Yeah. Yes.
Adam, you're late.
People who are in the chat, let me know if you have the book. Type a very big yes if you actually have the book, if you manage to get your hands on it, because it's sold out again on Amazon, at least the last time I was checking, and there should be a new print ready anytime soon, but it's selling out like I don't know what's warme broodjes. We say warme broodjes, hot sandwiches. What would you say in German, guys?
Cut bread. Geschnitten Brot.
Yeah, that sounds even better.
Wir warme Semmeln.
True.
Some people have the book, not a lot. We're 50-50 in. To keep this a little bit organized, I'm going to try to ask direct my questions to one of you guys, and let's see what happens. So, what do I've got here? Oh, before we forget, there was a contest. Somebody could win a signed copy of the book, and this is a unique, world first. There isn't a copy of the book out there with all the 4 autographs, so this is really going to sell for quite a lot of money on eBay. Millions. And at the end of this episode, we're going to announce the winner. So stick around if you actually entered the contest.
So can people still submit questions during the show and still get a chance to win the book?
No. Oh, or maybe if you want to give out a second copy, but the first one, the first one is already assigned to someone.
There is a second book.
Is there? Okay. So we have to. Well, I'll keep an eye on the chat. Let's see what happens. Guys, let's start with Jakob. Jakob, enlighten us. Why did you decide to make this book?
Because I had no other chance to. Actually, maybe it was the same situation as with the first one. Marc asked me, Jakob, should we do it? And I said, well, yeah, sure.
he tricked you once again.
No. Actually, we knew for a long time that we have to do a successor to this book for many reasons. The field and the topic changed a lot. We received a lot of criticism for the first book, which we understood well. So yeah.
Criticism in what sense? That people were expecting something else, or?
Well, we always tend to say that the first book marked a status quo at that time of the field, and when you say that, of course, it cannot be complete, it cannot be perfect. Many people said that it was too theoretical in many aspects, and maybe also a bit too diverse in language and style and approaches, because so many people put together their thoughts, which was the only thing that we could accomplish at that time, and we are still proud of that. But absolutely, we agree with that criticism and that skeptic towards the first book. So it was actually pretty clear that there will be another book someday.
Marcus, so Jakob already hinted upon some of the things, but how is this new book, Digital Service Design, doing different from, let's say, the first book, Digital Service Design Thinking? What's the main difference?
The main difference, it's the doing part. I think it's framed around. Well, maybe it's easier if I explain where it comes from, because it comes straight out of practice. It comes out of the experience we had at our This is Service Design doing executive schools, all the conversations we had there, and the needs that we felt from this audience, which we first packaged into a little script, and then thought, hey, just put a cardboard on top and a cardboard at the bottom, and that's it. How wrong we were at the time, But I think we iterated and we improved it a lot along the way, and it was worth it in the end. But I think if you look at the practice, and Jakob touched on this, what we're missing, there's many really good books out there. And we got really inspired by what work was out there, but then what we were missing is, okay, there's methods, but how do you tie these methods all together, and how do you make a shoe out of it? This is what we say in German, so that we can, for a specific question, construct a project that actually fits, and think about, give it a language also on that more higher level of service design. So we had there's many process descriptions and everything, but they didn't quite tell you what to do in that and how to put it together. And there are so many variations out there. There is no one project that you can just pull out and do and be successful, as you know, and we try to capture that.
I've browsed through the book. I haven't been able to read it fully yet, but I know that there are a lot of case studies in there. We're in there with one of our case studies, 131 volts. But Marc, how were you able to select which cases eventually got into the book?
Ooh, that's a tough question, actually. And we honestly had to do really tough decisions there, and not only the cases, but in general. One nice thing about doing a book in such a collaborative way is that you split up the book in many smaller construction sites, and you start working on these different sites. And then we had this moment pretty much a year ago when we, for the first time, pulled all the content together, and we realized, oh shit, we have like more than 800 pages here. And we have
Encyclopedia Britannica, man.
and we had a contract of 450 pages. So
you could earn twice as much.
Yes.
Yeah,
so we needed to cut it down. We were able to negotiate the publisher a little bit up to 550 pages, which we aimed for them. But we still needed to cut out stuff. So we needed, unfortunately, to cut out a few more cases there, which really hurt because they were already laid out and all that, but we had to. We had to shorten some chapters even more, of course, and then we took the decision to, and that I think in the end was actually really good. We had to cut out all the method descriptions because we have the hands-on, step-by-step description of how to do research, how to do certain ideation techniques, how to do prototyping. So we said, okay, a lot of that content is actually available out there. So let's take it out of the book and let not people pay for that. Only have small little teasers in it to roughly describe what the term means, but actually have the descriptions then online for free. So that's why you have the 180 pages for free online now. And unfortunately, we lost a few of these cases. But in general, we tried.
How did you make that selection? Because that was my question. Because I think you had dozens of cases, and then you had to select the ones that made the book. How did that process go?
In the end, it was a lot of sharing and talking. So we put all the cases out. We have photos where we are in the room, and all the walls are filled with all these different cases. And then we had discussions. We tried to have a lot of diversity in there. So,
me, obviously.
How did it go?
I think Jakob did, and his team.
Nah, I think Marc.
It wasn't just him in the end. They had some help with that, but you know, each of us, 3 other guys, the beardy ones, we put our life's blood into our chapters, and we helped each other with the other chapters and so on. But only one person really touched every page of this, and that's Jakob. And all the changes that we had to make probably impacted him the most, because it's easy for us to cut some words. That means he has to rearrange everything else. So I think probably Jakob worked the hardest on this.
And how did that process go, man? Writing a book with 4 people, or with a core
300 people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I wanted to say. With 300 people.
So we didn't do very much face-to-face stuff. There were a few sort of meetups where we go away somewhere for a couple of days and do what Marc said about gluing lots of pages on the wall and looking at them and so on. But the basic structure was, we met up. Well, first of all, we had the schools before this, and the schools gave us what we thought was the core content, which we later put online for free. Yeah, but we started with that, and we had a meeting in Nuremberg, in our hometown, Marcus and mine, where we said this would be our chapter plan. These are 12 chapters that seem to make sense to us. Yeah, and we decided who of us should be kind of the owner of each of those chapters. And then we opened up 12 separate Google Docs, and each of us dumped everything we could think of into those chapters. You know, sometimes we cut and paste stuff. Sometimes it was just notes. Like, you know, that story you always tell about the socks. You know, just put that in there so that the person who was writing it could take that and craft it. Yeah. Then we went away and we worked on it individually. Of course, we shared with each other, and we came backwards and forwards, and we found we had all kinds of struggles around language and structure of chapters, making it feel like it was the same book, but we got through all those. And then actually my favorite part was when we took these chapters, which were in quite different states of development. Some were very early. I mean, some of mine had things like, no idea what to write here, who has an example? In them. Some were quite polished, Marcus's ones especially, and we put those out. We asked very cheekily on Twitter who would like to help us edit this book, and we had about, I think, 200 replies within an hour and 10 minutes or something, which was fantastic. And each of those people took between 1 and 3 chapters, and we let them just loose on them using the edit function of Google Docs, or the comment function of Google Docs rather. And the tough part for us there, this was the painful part, was to hang back and let those guys go at it for a week or so. Yeah, because if someone writes, I don't know what they mean by this, and we write immediately, well, we mean that, we learn nothing. But if we hang back and let the guys, these wonderful 200 people, discuss this and say, well, I think they mean this, well, that would not include this thing, and so on, then we have a chance to learn something. And I learned personally the most by doing that. From the case studies from doing that is where I learned a huge amount. That gave us a new version of the book. We had various rewrites, you know, shorten it again, rewrite it, shorten it again. Then we had to incorporate the case studies to make sure we referenced them from the book, and so they actually sort of tied together. Then graphics, rewrites to make it fit the graphics and so on. So lots and lots of iterations in this. But basically, it was a lot of Google Docs.
A lot of Google Docs that enabled this book. Awesome. Let's give a big shout out to people who are joining and have joined. We actually have some people who are watching live. That's pretty cool. Uruguay, Argentina, Italy, Denmark, Germany, USA, Who else? Saudi Arabia, of course. So hi guys, welcome everyone. If you're watching, you would do us a really great pleasure if you share this link to YouTube on your social media channels, so we can get even more people to enjoy what we're doing here this evening. Awesome. Big shout out to everyone. Really appreciate it. Finland, yes. Almost as many people watching as people have read the book. Greetings from New York. Yes, Nashville. That's I saw somebody else from Nashville. Yes. Oh man.
Service jam in Nashville next week.
Oh, you're going to be in Nashville next week. So you've got.
We're not going to be there, but the service jam is going to be there. So.
Ah, yeah, we've got some news on that later on, right? Let's move on. Okay. Who wants to take up on this question? What were the things you most certainly disagreed upon and still disagree upon? Who wants to take this question? Jakob, let's go.
No, maybe real quick and maybe interesting for the audience. We really found some limits of iterations. I think when doing such a vast but concrete piece of work that has to be produced at one certain day. For example, I had some discussions with Markus, who wanted me to offer more first early shitty drafts of illustrations or graphics, and at a certain point I refused because it was just too much work. I mean, if you look at right, it sounds like a lame excuse, right? But if you're trying to get together 580 pages, then it's really really a tough task for someone to get all this together. And when you look at these thingies, and I do like them visually, but also content-wise. But there was really a point where I said, no, sorry guys, that just doesn't work. We need to make decisions, and it's just like this now, and we can try to make it better later if we find time for it. We won't. This was really a thing where we had some discussions, not in a bad way, not at all. But I think where we also learned, like where are really, as I said, the limits of iteration when coming to implementation.
Anything to add to that? Where do we disagree upon? Who's still angry?
It feels like a family therapy now.
Yeah. Come on.
Can I comment on the illustrations?
Go ahead.
This is where I learned a lot. I mean, basically, yes, this is my first book, so sometimes I just stood there with big eyes and was like, see what is happening around me. Interesting. Let's see how we can get through this. So on the production of the graphics, I think if there is more stuff to come for me, because I'm a very visual person, I needed to have these infographics to inform my text and go back. So it wasn't an illustration come at a later stage. For me, it was an essential piece of what I was writing. So in that sense, we created a lot, and I scribbled on my iPad and I threw it towards poor Jakob because I threw a lot. But I think this was it's really interesting what the final design does to the content.
And what do you find interesting about it? Why is that pleasing you?
Well, is it pleasing?
Yeah, I mean, basically on Google Docs, it reads nice and it has a flow and it's okay. But if it really is set on this page, and how many pieces of information can you get on one page? It's an art in itself, which I think Jakob excels in, and how this is kind of distributed. And that, again, of course, when the first drafts came in the final layout, it was like, okay, if it's that way, then I can tweak the content differently. Yeah. And that's a huge impact. And so in terms of, if you look at what we talk about in terms of iterations, the question is, how can you prototype that earlier without the pain that comes in with the quality that you actually need? at some point. So, you know, because the shitty first drafts, we did all that, but then the shittiness prevented the learning that we needed for the later book. So that's kind of.
So when do you move from the really low fidelity stuff into the higher fidelity stuff?
Late.
Yeah, but hold on. We have a super important question in the chat that I can't skip. It's Super Mavic who's asking, what is Marcus talking to for this interview? Marcus, what is in front of your mouth?
That's his personal time. Please don't go into it.
It's a Rode Podcaster. It's a beautiful microphone made in
Denmark.
New Zealand.
Ah, New Zealand.
Australia.
Australia. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Isn't that the same thing? No, it isn't. Sorry.
Yeah, we've got a Rode microphone here too. So we'll solve that mystery.
Do we get paid for that?
Very close friends with
maybe we should bleep it out. I don't know. I don't know what the YouTube policy is on that. Adam, what's your favorite part of the book? What do you like most?
Oh, that's really tough. That's a really hard question. Thank you for that one, Marc. Of course, your heart is in the parts that you wrote. I mean, each of us had our chapters that we sort of felt ownership of, and you know, you go back to them and think, oh, I could have done that bit a little bit better, or this one doesn't really say what I wanted it to say. I really like the case studies, actually, because every time there we are. Every time I read one, I find another sort of echo from another case study, or I find an echo of what's in the book, or I sometimes find a different view, a contradiction of what we do. And this is really important to us. We have lots of expert tips in the book and expert comments, and some of them directly contradict what we say, and that's super important because there is not one way to do this. And we have our own style of doing this, which we really believe in and which we enjoy doing. But there are other people working very differently to us, getting fantastic results. So it was important for us to have that diversity in there. But I think, honestly, my favorite actual page.
Yes, show it.
Is okay. Apart from the cartoon of us, and I don't know why I got an eye patch. I don't know why that happened. But apart from the cartoon of us, my favorite one is the one which has the story of how the book was made. But most importantly, to me, there are those 200 of the 300 fantastic people who helped us. Yeah, that is just brilliant. You know, how generous is that? And then at the back, we have another section for the 100 or so people who actually wrote content as well. So there's pages and pages and pages of that. And that, I'm an old soppy romantic person. That warms my heart. You know, these people gave their time and their expertise to this. It warms my heart.
Awesome. Marc, what is your favorite part of the book?
Actually, it's exactly what just Adam said. So I need to come up with something different now.
You do, be creative.
I think that's my second most loved part about the book is, and also a part where we struggled a lot with, is we wanted to create a practitioner's book that is rooted in research and existing knowledge. So it shouldn't be an academic work where you have sources for every sentence or so. It shouldn't be a full practitioner's book where you have no sources whatsoever. You just steal and rip and mix from other people, which I hate. It should be right in between. And that was actually pretty hard in detail, because as Adam described, we were all managing different chapters, and we needed to find the balance between them. How many footnotes do we put in? How much information do we actually put in the main text, and what do we put into the footnotes? And when does it get just too much there? And I think we found a nice way, maybe a little bit too much footnotes, but still a nice way on how to do it.
Who wants to comment on
awesome, by the way? There's really cool stuff in the footnotes.
Yeah.
So if your eyes are young enough, or you have a magnifying glass, I need my glass.
You need a huge glass to read it. Yeah.
And maybe we can enlarge it. Is there a Kindle version? I guess there is, or isn't there?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. We can enlarge it on the Kindle. somebody already said something about this, but Marcus, what's the deal with the online part of the book? Because I'm not sure if everybody knows that already, but there is a big part of the book that is just available online. So what is that?
The online part?
Yes.
It's basically all the method descriptions step by step.
So what are method descriptions? Could you give me an example?
Yeah, example. So basically, the 4 key activities or core activities of service design, as we call them, is research, ideation, prototyping, and implementation. Well, implementation being kind of a continuation of research, prototyping, and ideation in more concrete terms. So basically, we collected many methods that are key methods in these areas. But as we mentioned before, in the end, it's not about the single methods. It was about how to tie them together. So basically, when we had to shorten everything and tighten the whole book, we made the tough decision to actually take these content parts out of the book and say, hey, there is great books out there on methods that you could just tie into our framework. You can take our methods, but you can also add to them. And we just make everything that we wrote available online as an additional resource. Because there was no place for it in the book itself. What we left in the book, though, were teaser cards. So basically, you still have a mention of any of the methods that are in the online resource in the book. So we have short descriptions, what it is, and how to roughly, do it, what kind of tools you need for that. But then there is a link back to the online resource where you find on really in-depth descriptions, and also on the online part. So, for example, for the theoretical tools in service design, there is a really in-depth description which you wouldn't find anywhere else on this topic.
So I'm browsing. I've posted the link in the chat, and I'm browsing the method library. And it's saying the HTML version will be available in February. Guys, we're in March. What's going on?
We didn't say which year, did we?
I wasn't prepared for that.
Yeah.
It's 2019, February 2019.
Ah.
Yeah, well, I think it's me to respond on that.
What happened, Jakob?
I'm late. It's nothing really to add to that. The structure is ready. Someone needs to fill in everything into the CMS, and I'm doing my very best.
When do you hope? Let's not give you a really hard deadline, but what is your ambition? When do you hope to have that?
February 2018. That was the ambition. No, really, I'm doing
and the PDF is already available for download, so if people
absolutely. So there's nothing missing. You can access each and every method right now. And honestly, the HTML version is even more important to us than to our readers, because we want to make it available on search engines.
And will people be able to comment on these methods? Will this HTML version be like more of a, I don't know, can people add to this? What is your goal with this? Or is it just browse, download?
No, actually, the goal is really to offer it as a tool, to really use it in your daily work, maybe even to prepare a concrete workshop ahead of you. So right now, there is actually no plan to offer commenting on that. And honestly, I think there wouldn't be too much benefit from that right now, because it would just escalate. You can discuss these tools and these methods broadly from so many perspectives. I think that's not our job here to offer that.
We had one of the questions that came in LinkedIn, Facebook, I don't know, Twitter, was which type of organizations or which type of businesses were you thinking when you were creating this new book? Adam?
I think it's a wide range, and it's just the kind of people that we've also seen coming to our schools. So there's everything from government, the largest possible scale, I suppose, is government or international organizations, NGOs and so on. governments are implementing this kind of work in a very large scale around the world now. We do lots of work personally with quite large organizations, or ones that have hundreds of thousands of employees or tens of thousands of employees. And often there's a core group of practitioners who have the task or the interest to share this way of working. Then we've had small and medium-sized enterprises as well, people who are trying to say, okay, we have a chance here to be agile and to be quick and to adopt this among our few hundred people. We've had agencies, people like you and us, people who are doing this kind of work a lot and wanted to see how we do it and maybe, mix and match a little bit. So really, it's the whole range. We've had students come onto our schools, and there'll be lots of students buying this book. We know of some universities and so on that are buying it as a course book as well. So we try to be fairly Catholic with a small c in this one. And they always say you should never market to everybody. Yeah. So what we say is anybody who's interested in co-creation and human centricity and a way of working which is more inclusive, more lower risk, and very effective. So we say generally, if you pick up the book, probably it's for you, because there's something on the title or something in the vibe of it which turns you on. Maybe it's the post-its on the cover, whatever that might be. Yeah.
Were you surprised by the people who actually read the book? Because this book has been in development for quite some time, and the other book, This is Service Design Thinking, has become almost like a Bible. I've had so many people on the Service Design show actually saying, this book changed my life. Actually, I guess so. I'm quite interested in. Were you surprised by the type of people who actually read the previous book, Marc? Yes,
yeah, we were. I mean, when we wrote the first book, the
Bible,
we thought about maybe selling a few hundred, if it's really cool, a few thousand books, because we designed it as a textbook. So we thought people are going to use it in universities, in schools, maybe in professional workshops to actually teach service design. But we never thought that people would just go in a shop and buy it and learn from that. We were really, really surprised on that. And the feedback we got from that was really absolutely amazing. Not only the quantity of it, but the quality sometimes.
So how did that influence the decisions you made in this book?
So yeah, this time we knew, and that's exactly what Adam told. We knew that basically everybody could read this book. So we had cases from NGOs, from governments in the old book who just got in touch with me and told us their story. So we had all these stories in our mind from various people who we could affect. Because when we talk about service, we're not only talking about the business and customers, but we talk about citizens. We talk about employees and their experiences. I think it's wonderful if we create something and other people from a completely different domain. We had like workshops with legals, so the lawyers who took that and changed that for them. I think that is really amazing if people take something and they hack it and they make it their own, they make something out of it. And that was the most amazing thing for me and the most rewarding thing as well.
And then for me, that's the thing I really like about service design. It's all about people, right? And I got the question a few days ago. So Marc, how do you apply service design to business? I said, not any else than I do it to business to consumer, because business to people, these people are also people, and I guess that's what you're also saying, Marc, that it doesn't matter where you are, if you're dealing with people, if you're trying to make the life of people more easy, more fun, then service design could be a thing for you, right?
Absolutely.
Let's see if we got... we got a question from Loya, and I'm not sure, I haven't seen previously, so correct me if I'm wrong, but he's asking, why did you release the raw and unedited edition of the book in 2016? So was there a raw and unedited version, and if so, why did you release it?
I'll take this one, maybe. One of it was part of this this effort that we had to try and make it more inclusive. So we had the the Google Doc system where hundreds of people were on there editing it. But one of the opportunities that you have with our publisher, with O'Reilly, is that as you sort of write draft chapters, you can send them out to people. So people subscribe to sort of the book as it's being written. And again, they can give us feedback. So we're getting super early feedback on individual chapters, even before the book was completed. Again, for me, one of the most valuable things that we did was getting the book out in front of people way before it was ready, way before it was finished, because we're surrounded by these wonderful, generous colleagues. And so we can treat them as colleagues and we can ask them for their input and their feedback. And that's what we got. So we had kind of two channels for that. The O'Reilly pre-release was one of them, and our Google Doc thing was the second.
And that was basically to get feedback. That's what you're saying.
For us to learn as well. I mean, some of it was just about if our writing is working, if the way we explain things resonates with people. But the other thing was somebody would say, I know a case study of this. I got a picture you could use. I challenge that. I see it differently. And this is exactly the kind of stuff that taught us so much. I mean, I've said it already a couple of times, but this is my first book as well. And I expected to be pouring my wisdom from me, like a wise prophet on the mountainside saying, children, do this, I didn't expect to learn so much writing this book. And I think I've learned more than I've written.
And that's a great thing about having to sit down and to listen and to get feedback. Yeah, to reflect on what you're actually preaching. Another question we got from someone, I think she's in the chat. I know for sure she was in the chat. Pamela, she asked a question which is quite interesting, and that is, have you noticed any changes in attitude towards service design in the period between the first and the second book? And if so, what is the change in attitude, Marcus?
That's a tough question. I think as a field in service design, we matured a lot. Right now, the leading figureheads of service design around the world are on eye level with big business consultancies, and that certainly has changed. Like 7 years ago, we still had conversation about how do I get my foot in the door of the business people, and now we're really sitting at the table with these guys and discussing. And we're not there, in all pockets, in all companies, but there are many projects that are very successful. And maybe also the community has changed.
In which sense?
In which sense? I think we're more open towards business and towards technology, towards the whole mix, but while still being human-centric. But to really acknowledge that business out there isn't as easy, maybe acknowledging the complexity and actually developing and finding tools to tackle that and include way more people along the way. So maybe that's what has changed a lot. And of course, there's now it's a growing community of people that do similar things.
It's interesting because what I've been noticing is that we always say we have the feasibility, the viability, and the desirability, and we're so in the early days we were so focused on the desirability part, right? And now it's becoming more holistic in that sense that we also understand that we need to actually make this happen, and we need to get the business people on board, get business on board, and that's basically sort of what I'm also getting out of your story, right?
Yeah. I think yes.
All right. Before we head into the questions from the chat, so keep your questions ready, guys. My final question for now would be, guys, when is your third book planned, and what will the title be?
I'm out here. Bye.
No, serious. If we do a book in let's say 2 or 3 years, what should the book be about, Jakob?
If we would want to do that, we would have to start today.
We already started.
Now a year before that, actually, Miss Jakob, last year.
I might be. Actually, I have no idea, but I might be repeating myself. We thought about this after the last book, and we said maybe we do a much shorter one, like something for on the go, like some really short facts and some really short tips and hints for workshops maybe. But honestly, I don't have an idea yet, and I don't want to put it too simply, but it's really about iterations. This thing is out there right now. We are so excited about what will happen the next 1, 2, and honestly 3 years, learning from the last publication, how people will react to it, how they will really work with it, and what demand might be there.
Which words are still available? Because we've taken the thinking and doing.
I think my next book, we think about the way organizations experience service design. It starts off as a workshop, then it becomes a project management tool, and it becomes a culture change. And Markus, especially in his chapters, writes about this a lot. So if we've had this is service design thinking and this is service design doing, the next one I think is this is service design being. This is when does it go all through your culture? When is this way of working the only way you work, or at least it becomes a foundation of other new things you can bring in? So it's not seen as a thing which is added on, but it becomes the absolute basis of your moving forward.
Right. Let's dive into the comments. We're going to stick around for as long as people are here with us and have questions. So let me see if I can pick some of the questions out there. Questions. Let's see. Any questions? If you write Catherine is asking, if you write a third book, co-create, will you involve women in the core team?
Oh dear, that hurts.
That hurts. Look at us. Four white guys, 3 old white guys and 1 young white guy.
How did that happen?
Yeah, coincidence.
It happens because we're friends, and it's not like that we don't have a more diverse group of friends than this, but we once happen to be working together. It is a thing which I worry about, and we really tried very hard in our expert reviewers, in our tips, in our case study authors to be as diverse as we possibly could. And I think some of the most important expert tips, especially that we have, are from women authors. We're still a bit binary there as far as I know, but it's better than just having guys there. It bugs me. It bugs me a lot.
Yeah. No, thanks for asking, Catherine. I'm noticing the same here on the show when I making a short list for guests to invite. Somehow, you have to do more effort to actually find these interesting women, but they are out there for sure. Questions. Thomas is asking, will there even be a next step, a part 2 in the service design doing seminar format? So will there even be a next part? I think that's what you also said, Adam. Should there be a next part? Maybe the third book should be. There shouldn't be a third book.
I think Thomas is talking about the school that we run. Where the book comes from, and that is basically a 5-day executive crash course, we say, in service design, with an emphasis on facilitation as one of the special aspects of that. A school too, it's a thing we're thinking about. Yes, we haven't got anything firm there. We have some specialization schools which we're thinking about. So this is service design for some industry maybe, or for some aspect of that, maybe more focused on one activity like facilitation, like prototyping, like the business side, implementation, in that direction. So more of a zoom in, I think, than a sequel.
Saida is asking, is the book available in English only, and are you planning to bring it to other languages as well?
Yes and yes.
Klingon.
So we started in English. There are some communities who don't care too much about a language in their own language, a version in their own language. For example, the German market was not interested in a German version with the first book. But the way how it goes is, if someone is willing to do it, let's get in contact.
What were the, I don't know if you can disclose that, but what were the popular countries regarding this service design thinking?
Oh, we can disclose that. The first one, Mark, was I think Portuguese, even, right? Do you remember?
In terms of languages?
Yeah, so Brazil, I guess, was a big market.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Chinese was big. Taiwanese, Japanese, so a lot in Asia. And the most beautiful version is actually the one Jakob is showing right now. That is the version in Farsi.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
Jakob, can you talk a little bit so people can see it and maybe show a few pages of that? Because it's absolutely stunning and beautiful.
Yeah, show a few pages. You need to talk.
It's really stunning, and we're very, very proud of it. The coolest thing is that it opens at the back in quotation marks. It's a thing of culture. Yeah, and it really looks like this. I mean, there are many people out there who find this very familiar and normal, but to us, it's amazing. And especially when the guys, you know, invested all the effort to even adapt our little graphics here and there in that right-orientated layout. That was so super cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome. And nice that you also have a hard copy of it.
Sorry?
Nice that you have the physical copy there.
Oh, yes, and I'm very proud of it. And I mean, the funny part is that we're not getting any money from that because there's no official copyright treaty with Iran, so they're just printing it. But the funny thing was that that we were asked to write a foreword, and we said, yeah, of course we're doing it if we are allowed to mention this issue, and we were allowed. So this was pretty cool because we liked it. We loved the idea that it also gets to this part of the country and to these cultures, and we wanted to contribute to that. And it felt a bit heroic even to mention it in the foreword, which is surely forbidden or something. Now I'm going too far.
Anyway,
Stop
anyway. I'm not seeing any more. Oh, Maggie Williams asked a question. When talking about changing culture, how would you describe the core change you wish for? So we're striving a bit off the book, but what is the change what is the biggest cultural change that needs to happen? Marc?
It's not only one thing, but it's a couple of things, and I would say it's customer centricity, or whoever you work for, citizen centricity, employee centricity. If you're working on internal services, is really putting away this organization-focused thinking where you think in terms of silos and rather focus on your own KPIs and don't talk to other departments, but rather have that shift towards the people you are designing for, be it a citizen, be it another employee, be it a user, a customer, slip into their shoes. And on the other hand, it's also the way how you work. So instead of a rather linear process where you take a big decision and you're stuck with that decision for a while, rather changing in an iterative design way where you work more agile, maybe, so to say, where you have, instead of one big decision, a series of smaller decisions where you do a lot of user testing, where you involve customers, where you do research. I think that really changes this big idea behind that, changes a lot of small little behaviors. Like, do people within an organization still present concepts on PowerPoint, or do they present prototypes and stuff like that?
Well, we actually got a lot of questions regarding actual service design, process approach, meta tools, mindset, whatever you like. And I saved all those questions, and maybe we should do a separate episode, separate hour on specifically going into these topics, because I think people would be super, super interested. I had
may I
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
On that, because I when I hear customer centricity, employee centricity, I sometimes get a bit uncomfortable because it's a them centricity. It feels like we design for somebody, but shouldn't we at some point design for us and the relationship that we have with people? Because, even though we design for the end customer, because that's where maybe the money comes from, we still need to design it in a way that employees that are involved are happy at the same time, because otherwise it won't be sustainable. I think that may be a shift away from this one single, whatever entity it is, to the relationship, so that both sides are happy with whatever happens, and they can do that on a long term, which is just a thought on this.
If people are triggered by what you are saying, they should definitely check out the Service Design Show episode with Mauricio Meñez, where he actually states that user centricity or people centricity, that's dead. It should be planet centricity all the way through. So go check out that episode. That's really interesting. One question that also came to my mind is, what was the question that you got most often while making this book? What were people asking you, except when will it be done?
Yeah.
When will it be done? We'll skip that one. But Adam, which question did people ask you?
What's the difference to the first book? What's the difference to This is Services I'm Thinking?
Okay.
That was the first thing everybody asked us. Yeah, this is the first thing you asked us tonight as well.
Yeah. Let's see. Questions. Balance centricity. Jorge is asking, what would you suggest for companies trying to become more service focused rather than product focused? I'm talking about servitization. Okay. One question that we're going to go into service design, and then we are sort of wrapping it up. So companies that are producing boxes, shipping boxes, and want to become more service oriented, what would you advise them? Raise your hand. Come on. Adam.
Jakob.
Yeah, no, Adam, you are the content guys. I only did the images, right?
Oh yeah, that's so trivial. Yeah. Both have a go. My one is always the same. Spend more time with your customers, with your users. Just get out, and then you'll see that your box has a context, and your context is people's lives and what they're trying to do. And then it doesn't become a box anymore. It becomes an enabler. It becomes a part of an experience, of a service, whatever you want to call it. And we always say, if you only do two things in service design, do prototyping and do research, you're going to do one thing, do research. Get out of your seat, get out among your customers. There's nothing more valuable you can do.
And I would add to that I would exactly say that, and I would add to that, if you're asking, I understand the question, like what to do with a company that's not getting it right now. I would say, also from my daily work with conservative companies, try to acknowledge the value of qualitative insights, or not necessarily over quantitative insights. They tell you where something's wrong, or they have you monitoring things. But if people find it so hard to believe that asking 5 people, 5 real users, 5 real customers, but in a 1-hour interview can reveal so much more than investing 50,000 or 100,000 euros in qualitative research on classic market segmentations and stuff like that. It's super striking, and it even works in each and every management presentation. If you show the primary data where people say it is an interview, a video interview, or just even cultural probes on the desk or stuff like that, they buy it. They totally get it. They just ask one more time, is this real? Is it a real question our customer has, or a real problem? Yes. Oh, okay. Here's your budget. I mean, it's overdone, but you know what I mean. I would start with that.
Let's thanks for all that, guys, and I want to thank all the people who stuck with us this evening. At least it's evening here in Utrecht and in Europe, where we are all based. So people who are still watching, awesome. I really appreciate you hanging out with us, asking the questions, being in the chat. I see some really familiar names, so that's really cool. We still have a few announcements to make. Let's start with doing a sales pitch for the Jam, Adam, because that's the next big thing that's coming up. Give a heads up for the people who are watching.
Coming up this weekend, all over the world, in around 80 cities. We'll see how many we have at the end, but all over the world, a great fun weekend. Come together and try this stuff out. Check globalservicejam.org, globalservicejam.org. Find your local latest jam and go along. You could even start one if you want to. It's not too late. It's a great way to give this stuff a try and have a fun weekend.
People in the chat, raise your hand or say yes if you're participating in a jam. And we haven't announced it publicly yet, Adam, but we're going to do it now. We'll be doing, I call this the Global Service Jam Power Up. I just came up with the name and you didn't, you had no objections. So that's what it's going to be. We're going to go live like we're doing right now, exactly like we're doing right now. And we're going to invite jammers from across the world to share their experiences with us. It's going to be like the mini Global Service Jam show thing, right?
That's an even better name, mini Global Service Jam show thing. That's what we should call it. Yeah.
That's a really good thing. My pitch would be I'm prototyping a new mini course called Explaining Service Design, or How to Explain Service Design. It's going to be a free course mini thing delivered through email. It's not ready yet, but if you're interested, check out the link that I've put in the chat. It's totally free and it will change in the coming time, but you can sign up already. How to explain service design, because I get 2 questions regarding service design. How do I explain what it is? And question number 2 is, how do I sell it to my boss? This course will help you with should help you with the first question. Final thing, the winner. We should announce. We have a winner. We should announce a winner, and I know Marc knows who it is. Yeah, drum roll, guys. A signed copy of This Is Service Design Doing, the book that has sold out for many weeks. And a lucky person in the world will get their hands on a signed copy. Marc, enlighten us.
And the winner is, it feels a bit like Eurovision Song Contest here. So 12 points go from Austria to Canada.
Canada.
The winner is Rana Al-Rabi. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But we said we're gonna do another book, right? A second book.
How do you want to do that?
Who asked the first question in the chat today?
Ooh.
Can you scroll down?
I can scroll up. Who asked the first real question? I did. I asked, where are you watching from, guys? But we'll skip me. I already have I don't have a signed copy, but who asked the first real question? I think reading from the chat, I think Mahmoud is the one who said, what should we expect after thinking and doing? Would you consider doing a more expanded book on the implementation chapter? We actually didn't answer that question, but I'm thinking if you agree with me, then Mahmoud is the second person who won.
Congratulations!
Congratulations, Mahmoud.
Excellent.
And I know Mahmoud will be jamming in Riyadh, so Mahmoud is a big fan of the show.
Riyadh might be our biggest jam this year. It's looking like it's going to be really big. We'll see.
Awesome. Congrats, guys. Congrats. Thanks again. I'm going to say thanks a lot of times here on the show, but I really appreciate you hanging out with me. I really appreciate you hanging out, watching. Make sure you subscribe to the show so we can keep bringing you more videos, crazy stuff like this. Share the love, share the links, let other people subscribe. Make sure you get a copy of the book if you haven't got one already. I'll put the links in the description of this episode. You can always watch it after we're done. Any final words, guys? Anything you want to say?
Thank you to the community who made this possible. It's at least as much your work as it is ours.
Thank you.
Last one.
Let's wave bye, and I'm going to click the button that says stop broadcast, and that will be the end of this live episode. So see you soon, guys, and Bye
Thank you.
for now.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.